She asked the human to remove her armor so she could breathe. But what happened next? The rain pounded mercilessly against the metal structures of Outpost Vega, a forgotten trading hub on the frontier planet Tarsus. Captain Alex Carter wiped droplets from his brow, squinting through the downpour at the approaching lights in the distance. His broad shoulders tense beneath his gray military uniform as his hand instinctively moved to the pulse rifle strapped across his back. "Those aren't supply ships," he muttered, his deep voice barely audible over the storm beside him. Lieutenant Syra stood motionless, her emerald skin glistening with rainwater. The sleek contours of her dark armor reflected the outpost's emergency lights as they began to flash. Her silver hair was pulled back in a tight braid, revealing sharp features and piercing amber eyes that narrowed as she tracked the approaching vessel's pirates. She confirmed, her voice carrying a melodic accent that contrasted with the harshness of her words. "Black Star Syndicate, judging by their formation." Alex nodded grimly. "Just our luck, 2 defenders against a pirate squadron." Sierra unholstered her energy, blade the weapon humming to life with a blue glow that illuminated her face. "Then we better make it count, Captain." The first pirate ship landed with a thunderous crash, its landing gear sinking into the mud. Alex and Syra ducked behind a cargo container as the ship's hatch opened, disgorging a dozen armed figures into the rain. "I count 12, Alex whispered, checking the charge on his rifle. "Plus however many are in the second ship." Sierra's lips curled into what might have been a smile. "I've faced worse odds with me." Alex raised an eyebrow. "No," she replied, her amber eyes meeting his blue ones. "That's why I'm concerned." Before Alex could respond, the first volley of energy blasts struck their position, sending sparks flying from the container. He returned fire, dropping 2 pirates with precise shots to their chests. Sir moved like liquid lightning, her blade carving graceful arcs through the air. As she engaged the pirates in close combat, 3 fell before they could even raise their weapons. "Not bad for an Australian," Alex called out, impressed by her speed. "Save your compliments for when we're not about to die human." She shot back, ducking under a wild swing and dispatching another attacker. The second ship landed, and more pirates poured out. Alex cursed, reloading his rifle. "We need to fall back to the command center. We can activate the defense turrets from there." They fought their way across the outpost, covering each other with practiced efficiency, despite having never worked together before. Alex's tactical mind complemented Kira's aggressive fighting style perfectly. By the time they reached the command center, half the pirate force lay dead or wounded behind them. Inside, Alex slammed his hand on the security panel system. "Override Captain Alex Carter. Earth Defense Force Authorization Code Alpha 7 Tango, the outpost defense system. Word to life turrets emerging from hidden compartments around the perimeter." Outside, the pirates scattered as energy beams cut through their ranks that won't hold them. For long, Syra warned, checking a wound on her side where a blast had grazed her armor. "Their ships have heavy weapons." As if on Quo, an explosion rocked the command center. The lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness broken only by emergency lighting. "They've taken out the power core," Alex growled. "We need to move. There's an emergency bunker near the eastern perimeter." They slipped out through a maintenance hatch, the rain still pouring down as they navigated the darkened outpost. A pirate ambush caught them by surprise. A blast struck Sierra directly in the chest, sending her stumbling backward. Alex eliminated the threat with 3 quick shots, then rushed to her side. "I'm fine," she insisted, though her breathing had become labored. The armor absorbed most of it. Alex supported her as they continued toward the bunker. By the time they reached the small military tent that served as a temporary shelter, Syra's breathing had grown increasingly strained. "I need," she gasped, clutching at her chest plate. "The armor. It's constricting. The impact must have damaged the pressure regulation system. Can you remove it?" Alex asked, securing the tent entrance. Zir shook her head, her silver hair falling across her face. "The clasps are at the back. I can't reach them." She looked up at him, vulnerability flashing across her usually stoic features. "I need your help, Captain. I can't breathe properly." Alex hesitated, only for a moment before nodding. "Tell me what to do to the clasps are sequentials," Era explained, her voice strained as she turned her back to Alex. "Start from the neck and work downward." Alex's fingers found the first clasp at the base of her neck, hidden beneath a layer of interlocking plates. As he disengaged it, A soft hiss escaped from the armor like a seal breaking. "This doesn't feel like standard military gear," he commented. Working his way down her spine, each clasp required a different motion, twist, pull, press in a complex sequence. "It's not," Syra admitted between labored breaths. "Australian battle armor is personalized, custom-fitted." Alex paused as the third clasp revealed something unexpected, a small glowing blue node embedded in the armor's inner lining. "What's this? Careful," she warned. "That's a neural interface point. Don't disconnect it yet." Alex's military training kicked in. Neural interfaces were rare, expensive technology far beyond standard equipment for a lieutenant. "This is advanced tech, military grade, but not standard issue. The final class is first," she insisted. "I'll explain once I can breathe properly." As Alex continued, more of the armor's secrets revealed themselves beneath the outer plating. Lay a complex network of circuitry and what appeared to be data storage modules. This wasn't just protective gear. It was a sophisticated technological system. With the final clasp undone, the back panel of the armor loosened. Syra inhaled deeply, relief evident in her posture. "Now the neural points," she instructed. "Gently twist each, one counterclockwise until they disengage." Alex carefully disconnected the interface nodes one by one. As the last one detached, the entire upper section of armor fell away, revealing not only Cyrus's bare emerald skin, but also an intricate pattern of bioluminescent markings that pulsed with a soft blue light. Alex quickly averted his eyes, a flush rising to his cheeks. You could have warned me about what?" Syra asked, genuinely confused as she turned to face him, seemingly unconcerned with her partial nudity. The markings on her skin cast enough light to illuminate her curious expression. "That you weren't. That there wasn't." Alex stumbled over his words, keeping his gaze fixed on the tent wall. Understanding dawned on Sir's face, followed by amusement. Human modesty customs. Forgot she reached for a thermal blanket and draped it around her shoulders. "Astrians don't separate our armor from what you would call undergarments. The armor interfaces directly with our skin for maximum neural connectivity." "It's fine," Alex said finally, looking back at her. His eyes were drawn to the armor pieces on the ground. "So want to tell me why a lieutenant is carrying what looks like classified military tech? Those data modules aren't standard issue." Syra's expression grew serious. "Because I'm not just a lieutenant." She reached into a hidden compartment in the discarded armor and withdrew a small device. When activated, it projected a holographic insignia, a starburst pattern surrounding a double helix. "I'm part of the Astrian Science Division. This armor contains research data on experimental weapons technology. It's why the pirates attacked. They weren't after the outpost, they were after me." Alex's military training immediately assessed the implications. "You're a high V-value target. We need to get you and that data off-planet. Not possible until reinforcements." "Arrive?" Syra said, wincing as she shifted position, and the armor's propulsion system was damaged in the fight. "I can't reattach it properly without technical assistance." The rain continued to drum against the tent, creating a strangely intimate atmosphere. In the dim emergency lighting, with Syra wrapped in the thermal blanket, her bioluminescent markings casting an ethereal glow, Alex became acutely aware of how close they were sitting. "How long until your people come looking for you?" he asked, trying to maintain professional focus despite the growing tension between them. "Standard protocol is 48 hours after missed check-in," and she replied. Her amber eyes studied his face with unabashed interest. "Your species fascinates me, Captain Carter." "Alex," he corrected automatically. "And what's so fascinating about humans? Who your physiological responses," she said, leaning slightly closer. "The blood rushing to your face when you saw me. The dilation of your pupils now, the increased respiration rate." A smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Her strands don't blush." Alex cleared his throat. "Now professional observation, personal interest. However," she countered, her voice dropping lower, "my division studies compatibility between species. Biological, technological. Other forms of compatibility." The implication hung in the air between them, charged with possibility that seems like valuable research, Alex said, his voice rougher than he intended. "Very valuable." Syra agreed. Her hand, when it touched his arm, was surprisingly warm, and rare opportunities for field testing should never be wasted. Outside, the storm intensified, but neither of them them was paying attention to the weather anymore. "Is this part of your mission parameters?" Alex asked, even as he found himself leaning toward her. Syra's luminescent markings pulsed brighter. "Number, this is entirely extracurricular." When their lips met, Alex was surprised by how familiar it felt, yet thrillingly alien at the same time. Her skin emitted a subtle, pleasant warmth, and, where their bodies pressed together, her markings brightened in response. The thermal blanket slipped, forgotten, to the floor of the tent. Alex woke to the gentle pulsing of bioluminescent light. Syra lay beside him, her markings casting a soft blue glow across the tent's interior. The storm had passed during the night, leaving behind an eerie silence broken only by their breathing. Last night had been unexpected, wonderful, but unexpected. The differences between their species had created moments of awkward discovery and surprising compatibility. Syra's scientific curiosity had matched his own sense of adventure, turning their encounter into something both tender and thrilling. Alex watched her sleeping form, struck by how peaceful she looked, compared to the fierce warrior he'd fought alongside her. Silver hair spilled across the makeshift bedding, and her emerald skin seemed to shimmer with each breath. "Your staring is quite loud," Syra murmured without opening her eyes. Alex smiled. "I thought you were asleep. Astrians require less rest than humans." She opened her amber eyes, regarding him with a mixture of scientific interest and something warmer. "Your species, however, seems to need considerable recovery time. Is that a complaint or an observation?" he asked, propping himself up on one elbow. Her lips curved into a smile. "Data gathering. Though I must say, what humans lack in stamina, they make up for in creativity." Alex felt heat rise to his face. Glad to advance inter-species relations indeed. Cyrus sat up, the thermal blanket falling away as she stretched. "In my division, we've theorized about human adaptability, but experiencing it firsthand is much more informative." Before Alex could respond, a faint beeping sound came from his discarded uniform. He reached for it, pulling out his communication device. "Carter here," he answered suddenly. "All business, Captain. This is Commander Walsh. We received your distress signal. ETA to your position is approximately 6 hours. Status report." Alex glanced at Syra, who was already gathering her scattered armor pieces. "Outpost compromised. Lieutenant Syra and I are secure for now. Be advised, we have reason to believe the pirates may return." Thereafter, a thunderous explosion cut him off, shaking the ground beneath. Themzara was on her feet, instantly wrapping the thermal blanket around herself as she peered through a gap in the tent flap. "They're back," she confirmed grimly. 3 ships heavier firepower then. "Yesterday, Commander, situation has changed," Alex barked. "Into the communicator, pirates have returned and force request immediate extraction." "Negative, Captain, we're still 5 hours out at maximum burn. You'll need to hold position." Alex cursed under his breath. "Understood, Carter out." He turned to Sarakan. "You, get that armor functional again." She was already working on it, connecting neural interfaces with practice efficiency. Partially, the propulsion and weapon systems are offline, but the defensive capabilities should still work. Alex pulled on his uniform and checked his rifle's charge, less than half power. "We've got maybe 20 shots before this is just an expensive club. Then we'll have to make them count." Syra's voice had regained the steely edge he'd heard during yesterday's battle. The tender moments of the night before seemed distant, now replaced by the focus of 2 soldiers preparing for combat. Yet as she struggled to reattach her chest plate, Alex moved to help her without being asked. Their fingers brushed, and for a moment the intimacy of the previous night flickered between them. "You about last night?" Alex began, securing a clasp at her shoulder. "Focus on survival first," Syra replied, though her markings pulsed brighter where his hands touched. "Her armor we can discuss intricacies. Relations after we're not being shot at." Another explosion closer this time showered the tent with debris through the new tear in the fabric. Alex spotted a group of pirates advancing toward their position, using the outpost's damaged structures as cover. "We need to move." He decided this tent might as well be a target painted on our backs. Sierra nodded, checking the small energy pistol she'd retrieved from a compartment in her armor. "The maintenance tunnels, they run beneath the entire outpost. We can use them to circle behind the pirates." They slipped out the back of the tent just as energy blast tore through its front. Keeping low, they sprinted toward a service hatch partially hidden by fallen debris. Alex provided covering fire while Zero worked the manual override to open it as they descended into the dimly lit tunnel. Alex couldn't help but notice how Syra's markings provided just enough light to see by handy feature. He commented, gesturing to the glowing patterns on her skin. Evolutionary adaptation, she explained as they moved through the narrow passage. Australian ancestors evolved in deep-sea environments before moving to land. So you're part fish? Alex teased, trying to lighten the tension Cyrus shot him. An amused look over her shoulder. And humans evolved from primates, does that make you part monkey? They paused at a junction, listening to the muffled sounds of the pirates searching above. Cyrus' expression grew serious again. Alex, if we don't survive this, she began. He touched her arm, feeling the hard surface of her armor but remembering the warmth of her skin beneath it. We will. You don't understand, last night wasn't just physical curiosity. Her markings pulsed in what he was beginning to recognize as embarrassment. Astrian biology is complex when we connect with someone there. Can be consequences. Alex's brow furrowed. What kind of consequences? Before she could answer, the tunnel shook with another explosion. Dust and debris raining down on them. Later, she promised already. Moving again right now. We need to show these pirates why attacking a human and an Astran was the worst mistake of their lives. Despite the danger, Alex felt a surge of admiration for her fierce determination. Whatever was developing between them, whatever consequences she had been about to mention, would have to wait. But as they prepared to launch their counterattack, he knew with certainty that fighting alongside Syra felt right in a way few things in his military career ever had. The maintenance tunnels branched like arteries beneath, the outpost dimly lit by emergency lighting and Sierra's bioluminescent markings. Alex followed, her lead impressed by how confidently she navigated the labyrinth, despite claiming to have arrived at the outpost only days before him. You seem to know these tunnels well, he observed, as they paused at another junction. Syra's expression tightened. I memorized the schematics before my mission, standard protocol for a lieutenant. Alex raised an eyebrow. For someone carrying what I'm carrying, she corrected, checking her energy pistol's charge. We need to reach the communications hub. If we can access their ship frequencies, we might learn what they're planning. They moved silently through the tunnels until they reached a maintenance ladder leading up to a hatch. Syra's markings dimmed as she concentrated, listening for movement. Above clear, she whispered. Beginning to climb. The communications hub was deserted, equipment still humming but abandoned in the pirates' search for them. Alex secured the door while Syra went straight to the main console, her fingers dancing across the controls with practiced efficiency. Can you access their communications? Alex asked, keeping his rifle trained on the door. Already done, Shawan, she replied. Their encryption is pathetic. A holographic display flickered to life, showing a message log. Syra's amber eyes widened as she read her markings, pulsing rapidly with what Alex now recognized as alarm. What is it? These aren't ordinary pirates, she said, her voice tight. They're mercenaries working for Nexus Corporation, the weapons manufacturer. Alex frowned. What would they want with my research? Sarah finished grimly. Everything. The data I'm carrying could revolutionize energy. Weapons technology in the right hands, it could provide clean energy solutions for developing worlds and Nexus's handsetters. Alex concluded. Siren nodded, then froze as another message appeared on the screen. Her markings flashed in a pattern Alex hadn't seen before. Sharp staccato pulses that seemed almost like anger. What now? The mercenary commander, she said, her voice suddenly cold. It's Vaughn. You know him. He was my research partner. Sarah's hands clenched into fists. And my mate, before he betrayed our division and sold our preliminary findings to Nexus. I thought he died in the explosion when he tried to steal our prototype. Alex moved closer, placing a hand on her armored shoulder. I'm sorry, she turned to face him, vulnerability and determination warring in her expression. He's the reason. I was sent here with the completed research we needed to get it to the Galactic Science Council before Nexus could weaponize it. Her markings pulsed softly where Alex's hand touched her armor. I never expected to find distraction. Is that what I am? Alex asked, a hint of humor in his voice despite the situation. A distraction? Avery, pleasant one, She admitted, her lips curving slightly, though perhaps more significant than I anticipated. Before Alex could respond, the console beeped with an incoming transmission. Sire hesitated, then accepted it. A holographic face appeared, an Astrian male with sharp features and cold eyes. His skin a darker green than Syra's. His markings were angular, almost jagged compared to her flowing patterns. Syra, he greeted, his voice smooth but emotionless. I knew you'd access our communications eventually, always so predictable, Vaughn. She replied, her voice equally cold, still doing the dirty work. Of corporations instead of serving our people, he smiled thinly. Our people are short-sighted. Nexus understands the true potential of our research for destruction. She spat for power. He corrected, power that could elevate Astrayans above all other species. His gaze shifted to Alex standing beside her. Though I see you found other interests consorting with humans now. How primitive. Alex felt Syra tense beside him but kept his expression neutral. He dealt with enough xenophobic attitudes in his military career to recognize the tactic divide and conquer. This human has shown more honor in 2 days than you have in your entire life. Sarah replied, her markings pulsing defiantly. Vernon's eyes narrowed. You have 1 hour to surrender the data. After that, we level the outpost and sift through the rubble. The transmission cut abruptly. Silence hung between them for a moment before Alex spoke. Charming. You've got there. To his surprise, Syra laughed, a bright, unexpected sound that made her markings shimmer. Humans and your ability to find humor in dire situations. It's refreshing, one of our better qualities. Alex agreed, checking the time on his communicator. Reinforcements are still 4 hours out. We need a plan. Sarah's expression grew thoughtful. Ven always underestimated humans. He considers your species technologically inferior, evolutionarily crude. Her eyes met Alex's, a spark of something dangerous and exciting in them. We can use that. How I'll offer myself as bait, she said. Pretend to surrender. He'll want to gloat to prove his superiority, especially over you. Alex shook his head. Too risky. If he gets his hands on that data, he won't, Sarah assured him, touching the center of her chest plate. The data core is integrated with my armor's neural interface. It's keyed to my biological signature if he tries to forcibly remove it. She smiled grimly. Let's just say their salting energy discharge would be unpleasant for anyone within 10 man-hours. That's your plan? Threaten to blow yourself up? No, she replied, stepping closer to him. My plan is to get close enough to disable his ship while you sabotage their weapon systems, but first her markings pulsed in a pattern he now recognized as desire. If we're potentially facing death. There's an Astrian tradition? I'd like to observe. Alex raised an eyebrow. A tradition among warriors? She explained, her fingers tracing the edge of his uniform collar, a sharing of strength before battle. We don't have much time, he pointed out, even as his hands found her waist. Syra's amber eyes gleamed with mischief and heat. Then, we'll have to be efficient. Won't we, Captain? Their plan was simple, but dangerous. Syra would approach Vaughn's ship under the pretense of surrender. While Alex circled around to sabotage their weapon systems, they had 40 minutes before Varun's deadline expired, barely enough time to get into position as they prepared to leave the communications hub. Syra suddenly stumbled, catching herself against the console. Are you all right? Alex moved to her side, concern etched across his features. Just dizzy, she replied, blinking rapidly. Her markings were pulsing in an erratic pattern he hadn't seen before, rapid flashes followed by a slow, wave-like glow that spread across her visible skin. It will pass. But as they made their way through the tunnels, toward their exit point, Iser's condition worsened twice more. She had to stop, leaning against the wall as waves of dizziness washed over her. The third time, Alex insisted they pause. Something's wrong, he said firmly. Is it your injury from yesterday? Syra shook her head, her silver hair falling across her face. No, it's... She hesitated, her amber eyes meeting his, with a mixture of confusion and dawning realization. It's not possible. What isn't? Astrian physiology is complex. She began the same phrase she'd used earlier when we form connections with compatible beings. Our bodies can undergo rapid changes, but cross-species compatibility is extremely rare. It should be impossible with humans. Alex's mind raced to catch up with what she was implying. Are you saying that you're, I don't know? She admitted, placing a hand over her abdomen. Her markings pulsed brightly beneath her palm. But something is happening. My body is reallocating. Energy adapting to something new? Alex ran a hand through his hair, processing this unexpected development. Is it dangerous for you? The concern in his voice seemed to surprise. Her number uncomfortable, perhaps, but not dangerous, if anything. She straightened, rolling her shoulders experimentally. I feel stronger, more alert, as if to demonstrate. She lifted her hand, and her markings flared with sudden intensity. The glow was bright enough to illuminate the entire tunnel section. That's new, she murmured, examining her arm with scientific curiosity. Handy, Alex commented, falling back on humor to mask his shock built-in spotlight. Sierra's lips curved into a smile. Humans always finding the practical application. She flexed her fingers, and the glow dimmed to its normal level. The changes appear to be accelerated compared to normal Australian reproduction. Fascinating. Fascinating. Alex echoed weakly. So you're saying we might have created something together? It would be unprecedented. She acknowledged no documented case of humanist-Austrian offspring exists. The genetic differences should make it impossible. Yet here we are. Alex gestured to her still pulsing markings. Here we are, she agreed softly. For a moment they simply looked at each other, the implications hanging between them. The moment was broken by the beep of Alex's communicator, a reminder that they had less than 30 minutes before Varen's deadline. We can figure this out later, Syra said decisively, her warrior's focus returning after we deal with Ven. Are you sure you're up for this? Alex asked. If you're changing, maybe we should rethink the plan. Syra's expression hardened. I'm not just up for it, I'm better equipped. She demonstrated by lifting a section of fallen debris that would have required both of them earlier. Whatever's happening to me, it's enhancing my physical capabilities. Alex couldn't argue with the evidence before his eyes. All right. But we adapt the plan, no unnecessary risks if these changes are what you think they are. He trailed off, unsure how to express the sudden protectiveness he felt. If I'm carrying our child. So are a finish for him, her voice matter of fact, but her markings betraying a deeper emotion with their gentle pulsing than all. The more reason to ensure Vaughn doesn't get this research. I won't have our offspring born into a galaxy where Nexus wields planet-killing weapons. Our offspring. The phrase sent a jolt through Alex that was equal parts terror and something unexpectedly warm. He'd never considered fatherhood, certainly not with an alien scientist he'd met 2 days ago. Yet standing there in the dimly lit tunnel, facing impossible odds with this remarkable woman, it didn't feel as absurd as it should have. New plan, he decided. We use your enhanced abilities to our advantage, but you stay out of direct confrontation with Ven. I'll handle him. Alex, non-negotiable, he insisted. Not because you're changing, but because you're the only one who can access the research data strategically. You're the asset we need to protect. Sierra studied him for a moment, then nodded. Logical. Though I suspect your motivation isn't entirely strategic. Sue me for caring, he replied with a half smile. I don't know what should means, but I find your protective instinct. She paused, searching for the right word. Endearing. Unnecessary but endearing. As they continued toward their exit point, Alex noticed Syra moving with newfound grace and power. Her markings continued to pulse in patterns he couldn't interpret, but there was a vitality to her that hadn't been present before at the junction where they would separate. Sierra caught his arm. Alex, if this is what I think it is, if we've somehow created new life together, what does that mean to you? Humans have such different views on reproduction and family units. The question caught him off guard in the middle of planning a dangerous mission, with mercenaries hunting them and galactic weapons technology at stake. She wanted to discuss relationship status. It felt perfectly natural coming from her, this blend of scientific curiosity and personal vulnerability. It means, he said carefully, that whatever happens with Ven and Nexus, you and I have something to figure out together. After her markings pulsed once brightly, and she leaned forward to press her forehead against his, an Australian gesture he was beginning to recognize as affectionate. After she agreed, now let's go show Varun why crossing a humanist and partnership was his worst mistake. The plan unraveled almost immediately. Alex had barely reached his position near the mercenaries' weapons array when Varane's voice boomed across the outpost communication system. "I know what's happening to you, Serum. My scanners detected the biological changes from the moment you accessed our communications." Alex froze, pulse quickening. How could Vaughn know your little human pet has done what no Astrian male could? Vaughn continued, his voice dripping with disdain. "Created life with you, fascinating. Isn't it? The research possibilities alone." Through his earpiece, Alex heard Syra's sharp intake of breath. "Stick to the plan," he whispered. "He's trying to provoke you." "Change of term," Van announced. "Surrender yourself, Sierra. You and your condition. The weapons research is secondary. Now Nexus will be far more interested in the biological marvel you're carrying." Alex's blood ran cold. The thought of Syra and their unborn child in Nexus laboratories made his hand tighten around his weapon. Alex's voice came through his earpiece, unnaturally calm. "He's moving his forces. They're converging on my position. Fall back." Alex ordered. "We abort. Find another way." "Too late. They've spotted me." The sound of energy weapons discharging came through the comm, followed by Sierra's grunt of exertion. Alex abandoned his position, racing toward her coordinates. He found her surrounded by 5 mercenaries, her markings blazing with fierce light as she fought. With preternatural speed and strength, 2 attackers already lay unconscious at her feet as he watched. She seized another by the throat and hurled him into his comrade with enough force to send both sprawling. Impressive, came Vine's voice as he emerged from behind a damaged storage unit. The Astrian male was taller than Syra, his dark green skin adorned with jagged markings that pulsed with cold light. "The accelerated changes have already enhanced your physical capabilities." Sierra's eyes narrowed. "Stay back, Vaughn, or what?" He smiled thinly. "You'll kill the father of your previous mate? How would that look to the Science Council?" Alex stepped forward. Rifle raise. "She doesn't have to." "I will." Varn's gaze shifted to Alex, studying him with clinical detachment. The human progenitor. Even more fascinating up close, his eyes flicked between them. "Do you understand what you've created? The first viable, humanistan hybrid in recorded history. Our species has attempted crossbreeding for centuries without success. We didn't create a science experiment," Alex growled. "We created a." Kyle Vane laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "How charmingly primitive. This isn't about family, human. This is about evolutionary advancement, genetic breakthrough. It's about profit." Sir countered. "How much is Nexus paying you to bring me in? Or did you negotiate a percentage of whatever bioweapons they developed from our child?" The remaining mercenaries had regrouped, weapons trained on Alex and Sierra. Ven gestured dismissively. "The Science Council will only study your offspring, catalog its genetic makeup. Perhaps run some tests. Nexus will unlock its true potential." His expression hardened. "Now surrender, or my men will use non-lethal measures that might be uncomfortable in your conditional X." Edged closer to Sierra, mind racing for a solution. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and Syra's condition, while granting her enhanced abilities, also made her vulnerable. Suddenly, the ground shook with a distant explosion. All heads turned toward the sound. "Reinforcements," Alex realized with relief. 3 hours early. Vaughn's expression darkened. "Take them now." He ordered his men. What happened next occurred so quickly that Alex barely had time to react. As the mercenaries advanced, Syra's markings flared with blinding intensity as she seized Alex's arm with surprising strength and pulled him toward a nearby maintenance hatch. "Trust me," she whispered, and before he could respond, she had wrenched the hatch open and pushed him through. He landed roughly on the metal grating below. Sierra following immediately after. Above them, the mercenaries shouted in confusion, temporarily blinded by the flash from her markings. "That's new," Alex commented as they raced through the tunnel. "Adrenine response," Sarah explained between breaths. "The pregnancy is accelerating my body's defensive capabilities." They emerged near the outpost's small spaceport, where a single pilot shuttle sat untouched. Syra headed straight for it. "What are you doing?" Alex asked as she began the startup sequence. "Getting us off planet," she replied, not looking up from the controls. "Your reinforcements will handle Von, but we can't stay." "Why not?" Sir paused, her amber eyes meeting his. "Because the first thing your commander will do is report to Earth Defense Force headquarters. The first thing they'll do is contact the Astrian Science Council, and the first thing the council will do is order me to return to Astra for observation." Understanding dawned on Alex. They'll want to study the pregnancy. They'll want to terminate it and study the results. She corrected grimly. A human-Astrian hybrid represents too many unknowns. The Council prioritizes scientific advancement over individual choice. Alex felt a surge of protective anger. They can't force you, they can, and they will, Cyrus said, resuming the shuttle's activation. Unless we're not there when they arrive, the implication. Hit Alex like a physical blow. You're asking me to desert, to abandon my post, my career. Cyrus' hand stilled on the controls. Her markings pulsed. In what he now recognized as uncertainty. I'm asking you to choose, she said quietly. I can leave alone, raise our child away from both our peoples until it's too late for them to interfere. Or her voice softened, you can come with me outside. The sounds of battle grew closer. Earth forces engaging Vaughn's mercenaries. Alex's duty was clear: report to his commander, help secure the outpost, complete his mission. But as he looked at Syra, at the gentle pulsing of her markings where their child was growing within her, he realized his priorities had shifted in ways he never could have anticipated 2 days ago. How fast can this shuttle go? He asked. Syra's markings brightened with hope. Fast enough to reach the outer rim before anyone realizes we're gone. Alex took the co-pilot seat beside her. Then let's find out. 6 months passed in the blink of an eye. The remote mining colony of Helios on the outer rim had proven to be the perfect hiding place built into the side of a dormant volcano. The settlement was a hodgepodge of different species and cultures, all united by a desire to escape the reach of galactic authorities. No one asked questions about the human man and his pregnant Astrian partner. Alex stood at the window of their small apartment, watching twin moons rise over the volcanic landscape. Behind him, Sarah moved about the kitchen area, her swollen belly now prominently visible beneath the loose-fitting tunic she wore instead of her armor. The moons are particularly bright tonight, he commented, turning to watch her prepare their evening meal. Sarah glanced up, her silver hair now grown longer and braided down her back. The locals say that's good luck for childbirth. Her markings, which had grown increasingly vibrant throughout, her pregnancy pulsed with gentle amusement. Though I doubt their superstitions account for humanastrian offspring. Alex crossed the room to stand behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and resting his hands on her rounded abdomen. The baby responded immediately, a strong kick against his palm. Still a fighter, he murmured against her neck. Like both parents, Syrah agreed, leaning back against him. Her markings brightened where his skin touched hers, a response that had only intensified as her pregnancy progressed. Their life together had fallen into a comfortable rhythm. Alex had found work as a security consultant for the colony's mining operations, while Syrah had set up a small laboratory to monitor her pregnancy, using equipment they'd gradually acquired through discreet channels. It wasn't the life either of them had imagined, but it was theirs. Together, have you thought more about names? Alex asked, helping her carry their meal to the small table by the window. I've been researching human naming conventions, Sarah replied, easing herself into a chair. They're remarkably diverse. Astrians typically use names that reflect familiar lineage and scientific aptitude. So no baby Carter, whatever your last name is. Syrah's markings pulsed with what Alex now recognized as laughter. My family designation is Nix Terran, and no, I was thinking something simpler might be appropriate for a child of 2 worlds. Their conversation was interrupted by a sharp gasp from Syrah. Her markings flared suddenly, then dimmed to an alarming dullness. She clutched her abdomen, face contorted. In pain. Syrah. Alex was at her side instantly. What's wrong? I don't... She broke off, another wave of pain washing over her. Something's not right. The baby's energy signature is fluctuating. Alex helped her to their bed, his mind racing. They'd prepared for complications, had known they were likely given the unprecedented nature of the pregnancy. But the actual moment of crisis still filled him with cold dread. Sarah activated the medical scanner. They kept beside the bed, passing it over her abdomen with trembling hands. The holographic display showed readings that meant nothing to Alex but clearly alarmed her. The hybrid cellular structure is destabilizing. She explained, her scientific training asserting itself. Despite her pain, the human and Astrian genetic material is conflicting. What does that mean for the baby, for you? Syrah's amber eyes met his fear, evident in them for the first time since he'd known her without intervention. We could lose the baby, and the resulting biochemical cascade could seriously harm me as well. Alex felt as though the floor had dropped out from beneath him after everything they'd been through, the battle at the outpost, fleeing from both their peoples, building a life together, to face losing both the Shirai and their child was unthinkable. What intervention? Tell me what to do. Sarah's markings pulsed weakly as another spasm of pain hit her. I need specialized medical knowledge, estrian genetic stabilization techniques. She gripped his hand tightly. There's only one person I know with the expertise who might help us. Alex's blood ran cold. Number? Absolutely not. We have no choice, Alex. My former research partner, Dr. Mira Elson. She specializes in Australian reproductive biology, and she'll report us to the Science Council the moment we contact her. Not necessarily. Syra winced, her markings flickering like a failing light. Mira was my mentor before then. She disagreed with the Council's policies on many issues. It's why she was relegated to a remote research station. Alex paced the small room, torn between fear of discovery and fear of losing Syra and their child. Can we trust her? We have to. Try. Syra's voice had grown weaker. The station is only 2 days' journey from here if we leave now. Another spasm hit her, more severe than before. Her markings went completely dark for several terrifying seconds before flickering back to a dim glow. Decision made. Alex gathered their emergency bags, always packed and ready by the door. I'll prep the shuttle. Can you walk? Syra nodded, though. Her face was drawn with pain. Alex, if we're caught? He returned to her side, cupping her face in his hands. We won't be, and even if we are, we'll face it together. He pressed his forehead to hers, in the Astrian gesture of affection she taught him. I didn't desert my post and flee across the galaxy just to lose you now. Her markings brightened momentarily at his touch. When did humans become so sentimental? She teased weakly. Around the same time. This human fell in love with an Austrian scientist. He replied, helping